Hey, everyone. Jerry's still here. Hi, Jerry. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I'm still here, but I'm getting out of here. I just, I've had a long day. I haven't ate. I'm going to go eat. Then we'll sit back and relax and make sure Jeffrey behaves himself tonight. So
We'll keep him straight, Jerry.
I know you will. Mark, I appreciate you coming on, and of course, Chad always taking the driver's seat whenever
You're welcome, brother.
my old cans had enough for one day. Jeffrey, you were quite the hit the other night. That was. I got a lot of compliments on playing your snoring during the outro of the Beards and Burgers show. So.
I tell you, this snow has been rough on me.
Yes, it's been rough on a lot of people.
No.
And Suzanne, Sweden, Sasquatch, Sweden, Sasquatch. But we appreciate you coming on, and
Thank you.
I look forward to listening to your stories. So I'm going to shut up now. I'm going to bug out of here. Y'all have a good show. And everybody, thank you. And like, subscribe, and share. It's free. We appreciate it. We got to hit that 1,000 mark one of these days.
Thank you.
Right, Jeff?
Okay.
Right.
Have a good
Jerry.
Hey, Jerry.
Thanks.
All right. Mark, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Just sitting here relaxing.
Sitting here relaxing.
Good to be relaxed.
Good.
Mark,
Jeffrey, how you doing, my friend?
He's trying to get up here in the beard department with me. He's growing it up a size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever grow a beard like that again. I liked it, but man, I was too busy picking food out of my beard all the time, and it wasn't worth it. Well, I'm really excited about our guest. She's told us a little bit backstage. I've actually looked up a few things about Sweden and their folklore. We're just going to talk about one, though. And we're going to let her introduce herself, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how you got into this. And like I said, any questions we'll bring in, and I'll get a little stopping point, and we'll ask the questions then. Okay?
Sounds good.
Fired up. It's all you.
Okay. Well, hello. My name is Suzanne Hertzman. Originally from Phoenix, Arizona, currently residing in Phoenix, Arizona, and lived in Sweden for quite a long time. Met my husband and got married in 2010 and found my first footprints in Sweden in 2012. I guess tells my age. The reason I was interested, I knew what I was looking at when I first saw the footprints was because I've always been interested, like everybody, I guess, that grew up in the 70s, you watch TV shows and everything, and you learn, there could be something in the woods, and I certainly wasn't expecting it. And having seen something in Arizona in 1985, up near Prescott, Arizona, that I did not know what it was, I finally figured out that what I had seen was a Sasquatch sitting under a tree that kind of had been watching me and then walked off on all fours. And fast forward to walking my dog one day. I had a young dog, now living in Sweden. It was a cold day. I want to say it was February again. I don't know why it always seems like it was February, but it was February. It was -13. That was Celsius, so quite chilly. And I had a young dog. He was big and he loved to run. So I'm out walking through the city that I lived in is a small city. Sweden looks an awful lot, the area that we were in, like rural Pennsylvania, with a little bit of Minnesota thrown in. There's a lot of water, a lot of lakes. There's a reason Scandinavians moved to, that part of the United States. It's because it looks like it. Big, huge oak trees and a lot of history. So there's moose, deer, wild boar. There are no bears that far where we were, south. The odd lynx. You'd have to go a lot farther north to see wolves or anything like that. But it's all Viking, territory, just farmland and moose and deer and boar, wild apples, wild pears, mushrooms, whatever you want to have to eat. So there's lots of food. And just outside the city that I lived in, this small city, it was surrounded by farms. There was an Air Force base close by, several rock quarries, big lakes. We're talking within, 100 miles of where I was. And right outside the city, within 10 minutes from my home, I could be in a nature reserve. And there were never any people there. And every afternoon when I got off work, I would take my dog out for a walk. And since he had so much energy and he was young, and I was happy as a clam to finally be living someplace where there were no snakes, there were no nothing that, it was just this beautiful woods, and I was exploring it and learning about it. I'd taken my dog out. We had about 3 feet of snow in the fields, but I was walking on a slightly elevated farm, where the tractors go between the fields, a farm road, and then you dip down. I was throwing a stick into the field. The dog was running through the field, bringing the stick back. And it's just a tractor road. It had been graded. So there's about 3 inches of snow on the road with a layer of ice underneath. And then when you step down off, I would go up to just about my knees, mid-thigh, just above. And I'm 5'8". So what is that, 2.5 feet, 3 feet? Throw the stick, walk. I look down, and as I'm looking down, and it's about 2:30 in the afternoon. So the light is starting to fade. I call it gloaming. You guys are up north, so you know what that's like. When the light starts to get dark early, everything kind of turns blue in the snow.
Yeah.
And I looked down, and there was a footprint there, but it wasn't just, a boot. It was a foot. It was a foot with toes, and then around the foot, and it was big. It was big. I wear a size 8. I have a 27 centimeter long shoe, a Merrell hiking shoe. And it was about, 2 or 3 inches longer than that. So not out of the realm, not maybe like a size 13 or 14 men's shoe, right? But it was wide, and it had perfectly formed toes. So a foot with perfectly formed toes. And all the way around it was wet hair. It looked like it had stepped down, and there was wet hair around it. So you picture a sun, when you draw a sun when you're a little kid, and you have
Right.
The wet hair. And it was shorter at the top, longer at the side, shorter at the heel. And I thought, that is weird. That's a footprint. And as I looked up, going down the road, you could see the shadow of the footprints, and they were like 4 feet apart in a they weren't, like they weren't like this. They were boom, boom, on a line. And I could see him going up the field. I was like, God, here comes the dog. I throw the stick, and now I'm looking, and I'm like, oh my God, that's insane. And I turn to my left, and at my left, there's about 25 feet of just rough, on the other side of the road. And then it drops down into, I would call it a ditch, but it's actually a stream. But it drops down about 30 feet, at a pretty severe angle right there into the stream. And the stream runs all the way through the nature reserve out to a really big lake. And at that lake, it's a shallow lake, but it's a what do you call it? A bird sanctuary. So there's swans and everything. There's, like I said, this is a nature reserve. But anyway, I thought, oh my God. And I could see where something had come. You could see the indentations in the snow. And I thought, that's just crazy. And so I walked, that's how I know how deep the snow was, because I stepped off of the road to go see if I could see if those footprints were there. Cause I'd looked at 3 or 4 of them, already by now. I'm like, oh my God, everyone is the same, perfect feet. Someone's either barefoot or crazy. And it's cold. And I stepped down, I sunk up to my knees. And for me to be able to walk through that, I was shushing. I couldn't pick my foot up and climb. I guess I could, but it was making a mess. And whatever had walked out, had come up that steep bank, stepped onto this 30 feet of rough, just, I suppose, grass and stuff underneath, and then perfectly stepped without making a mess into the snow, and then stepped up on the road. stepped on the road and then walked in a straight line down the farm road, which went on for maybe 2 football fields. And it ended in a triangular copse of trees. You know, like you have a field and then there's a triangle full of trees, and the farm, there's a field, and, you know, it runs against a road, and then the farmer has, so it was 3 triangle acres with a patch of woods in the middle, and the footprints went all the way into the woods. And this is 2012, so I had an old phone, and I'm trying to take pictures, you know, the old Ericssons. It's not working. And it's getting late. And then I started to realize that, you know, crap, these are fresh, you know, and I have to walk back up that road and walk right next to that forest to get to my car, which is down the road with the forest right on my left side to get all the way out. And I thought, that's a little freaky. These are weird. I think that I don't know what these are, you know. Why would I see these here? I'm going to go home and I'll talk to my husband about it when he gets off. And now it's starting to get kind of dark. You know, it's about 4 o'clock and it's starting to get dark. And so I went home, and it had started to snow because I wanted to take my husband out. He came home. Now it's pitch black and it's coming down hard. And I said, I have to, you know, I told him what I found. And my husband's a no-nonsense kind of a guy. He's a firearms examiner. He is engineering all the way, die hard. I'm a hunter. I've lived here all my life. I've grew up at a farm. You know, this is none of this, you know, hocus pocus stuff. But there's a reason you know, he believed me because I was kind of adamant about it. You know, this is what I saw. And he said, well, we can go out tomorrow morning. It was a Saturday. We can go out tomorrow morning and see if we see him. You couldn't see him. We had, you know, inches of snow that night. So anyway, so that was my introduction to something being in the woods in Sweden. And fast forward, you know, several months, I guess. I always had I didn't really go back there until the snow melted in the spring because I was freaked out and it was dark. And I thought, you know, I didn't know that area really that well. I was walking around it, staying on the roads, but not going into the woods in that section. And then in the meantime, I'm online and I'm, you know, Bigfoot footprints, you know, what do they look like? And I started, and there wasn't that much to see then online, and I didn't know anything about it really. And I kind of reached out and was looking for information. And now it's springtime. And I thought, well, it's a sunny day. It just looks pretty innocuous. You know, I'm going to be okay. I park the car. I go back to the same area. It's kind of muddy. And I thought, well, what I'm going to do is instead of walking on the road where I found the footprints, I'm going to go on the inside. So instead of the woods being on the south, I'm going to go kind of north, you know, northwest and take the inside triangle road there. And that road it's hard to describe, but Sweden has, what are they called? I call them earth wrinkles, you know, where the glaciers have come along and they make huge mounds of rock and dirt. Okay. I think they're called moraines, right? Really big hills, right? So one side is a really big hill, and then there's the road, and then there's this copse of trees, and they walk, you know, 50 yards or 75 yards. And then you come out and there's another open field, and he's farming that. So I'm walking and we get to this patch of trees just before I'm going to go through go bushwhacking through some brambles. And it's a small stand of, willows, young willows, you know, with the white trunks. So I'm a desert girl, and I still was learning the Swedish words for these trees. So I'm almost positive they were willows because I would ask my husband what it, you know, in English, what it is. And the leaves were just starting to pop, and they were so bright green and a blue sky. And I thought, God, that's finally some green. That's really pretty. And I stopped, and it was just, you know, the dog was snuffling around, and I started smelling something like, that smells weird. And it smelled like a musky, sweet, like a honeysuckle, or maybe honeysuckle. You know how honeysuckle in the summertime, you get that real sweet smell,
Oh yeah.
but it was musky. And I thought, God, that's weird. And I couldn't get that close to the stand of trees. They were big, it was a good 10-foot, 15-foot deep stand of trees, and right at the base of this moray hill that went up. And the moray is covered with oak trees, and then it's kind of rock and brambles coming down to where the road is. And I thought, God, that's such a weird smell. It's not unpleasant, but it's weird. I'll ask, my husband's name is Patrick. I'll ask Patrick, when he comes home, if willow trees smell here. I've never noticed that they have. Okay. So I continue my walk, and we're walking on the road. We get about another 30 feet. And the dog, I have him off leash because I'm training him. He's about 6 months old now, to walk with me. So I don't need to have him on leash because he's a big dog and I don't want to lose my kneecaps or break an ankle. And I just want to let him get some exercise. So he takes off and he runs up the moray. And I'm like, oh crap, this isn't going to be good. And I didn't know what could be up there. Maybe a deer, maybe some pigs or something, but I didn't hear anything. And the woods are still on my left. And the next thing I know, I hear what I would describe as more of a kerfuffle. It was more like a lot of leaves and stuff and twiggy things breaking. And then down comes the dog. The dog is running so fast that I was expecting him to, run. He looked like Pluto. His eyes were huge. His tongue was like, flapping in the breeze. He was terrified. And he came ripping down this hill and went right by me. Didn't even see me. Just went right by me down the road and ran to the middle of the field and turned around and braced himself and got real low. His eyes were still huge. His tongue was, like, what the hell is wrong with you? And I'm like, oh my God. And I looked up there. I didn't hear anything. I thought, well, that taught you a lesson type thing, and I continue to walk, and he's still hanging out in the field. He's hunkered down like he's going to run. And his tongue is, and behind me, I hear like a thud, something landed on the ground, but it almost made the ground shake. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but it sounded like something really heavy landing on the dirt, and it came from inside the trees. And I stopped and I turned around because I thought, and I'm not thinking anything at this point. I'm just like, what the hell? And I, like, okay, listen, I don't hear anything. I'm just going to mind my business. I just keep walking. It's not a bear. It's not a, moose don't do that. It sounded like something jumped and landed on the ground out of the tree. I finished my walk to the end of the road. The dog, comes back over. Okay, here we go. And we're walking and get to the end. And I can't go any farther because what happens is it goes up real steep, and there's one of the main roads is right there. And if I wanted to go under the road, I have to get down into that stream. So I've got to go down into the stream. There's one of those great big culverts, like you could drive a car through it. And I think, okay, well, I'm not going to go any farther here. And there was a turnaround for where the tractor would have turned around. And I just came back out. So on the way back, now I've got the dog on the leash because I'm thinking, well, this isn't going to happen again. So I'm okay, and I've taken my time, 20 minutes, walking down this road. Okay, this nice woods on this side, open field on this side. I don't know what's going on up there, but there's beautiful oak trees. I'll explore that another day. And I'm walking along, and I look to my left woods were now on my right, moray's on my left. And there's this really beautiful vibrant green grass. And in the grass on the slight upslope where the dog ran up, I saw 2 big indentations. And that's all I'm going to describe them as. I don't know if they were there beforehand or not. I didn't see them when the dog ran out. I wasn't focused, but I walked over and they were the size of feet. They could have been feet. if I'd looked closer or knew what I was looking at, I might have seen, like, it looked like something might have been in later retrospect in the tree, jumped out of the tree after there was a kerfuffle and made its way up the hill. Okay.
Oh,
I
wow.
mosey on my merry little way. And I was out there pretty much every single day. I was just exploring, taking the dog for a walk. And when I went out, I wasn't on the trails. I was going on, because it was fun for me. I wasn't worried about, I'm going to get eaten by a Bigfoot. It was just, I was finding this stuff like, what the hell? This is just okay. This is weird. That's the stick structure. That's weird. It wasn't, I didn't know enough about it. I hadn't learned, I was learning stuff over time. So anyway, so I would just go on these walks and I'd be wandering through on the deer trails. Oh, that's a neat, look, moss. Oh, look, a berry, and that's kind of how I was living my life in the afternoon. So I think the Bigfoot got used to seeing me. Now, when I was out there, there was one specific area I really liked to also go to. And this was an old Neolithic, this whole area. The reason it's a nature preserve, there's two reasons. First of all, there's the lake there that is it's a natural low water level lake that has thousands of birds. Okay. The other reason is it's that whole section there is Neolithic burials, standing stones, fortifications, right? Everything. And there was a Neolithic farm. Well, it wasn't what was left of it, which was basically where the longhouse would have been. It was just, the base of the barn, right? Stones, boulders, right? And there was what would have been a cold cellar, type thing. And I liked walking in there. It was really pretty. And the reason I did was because it was pretty. And there were wild apples. I got a kick out of that. There was a tiny little pond down and back. It was a good place to walk. It was all fenced in. So if Wiener Nuts did decide to go take off after deer, he couldn't go far. He had to stay within, this couple acre boundary. And I'd walk around in there and just explore it. And every now and then I would get a whiff of something really, it never smelled bad or like garbage, but what it did smell like was really wet, strong, musky, kind of horse, kind of a little bit of dung, a little bit of, musky weirdness. You'd get it on the breeze and you could tell. It's like, that's a weird smell. Now, my husband's a hunter, so I've been around moose, I've been around deer. Wild, boar do smell a little bit, especially if you're butchering them, I don't kill them. I listen. I've got good ears. So I'm the spotter. He's the, he kills it, I grill it. So that's how we go through life.
There you go.
I don't mind dissecting it. I think that part's kind of interesting. But I never smelled anything like that. It was different. And I would ask him, I'd say, what is out there that smells kind of musky? So I think I was actually being watched. And I think it was the big one, the male that was there. Eventually, I came to this because I started finding more prints.
Okay.
And the male had his right foot, his middle toe was either missing or damaged. So whenever I would find his big, gigantic print, I've got a lot of pictures and stuff. The right foot was damaged, and you could see it in the frozen grass, or I'd see it in the mud. But eventually, anyway, I would get this musky smell. And like I said, I was out there. Now we're coming around to the fall. And I want to say September, November. Again, it's gloaming. It's that, it was in the afternoon. It wasn't gloaming that much. It was probably around 2:00 because the sun filtered through. But it had been raining, so it was really muddy. I'm on the trail. I go past the Neolithic farm site. So I've got that on my left. I go down the trail and I walk out to where the little pond is in the distance. Remember, I'm in the woods. I'm surrounded by woods. And it is a mud bog. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, I've done that once. Not a shining moment in history. I'm not going to do it again. The dog was already, a disaster. He was I'm going to let the dog run. But what I'm going to do is cut close to this I'm going to cut close to the base of the hill so I can keep my feet dry and just go. There is a hiking trail there. It's slightly elevated. And I'm going to stay on that trail instead of going down where I normally would go into the meadow and going left. I'm just going to stop here, go left, hug the low hill at the base of the farm site is up here, drops down about 15 feet, small slope, and then the meadow. The dog's in the meadow running around. I'm just going to go on the trail and go around and make a U, and we'll work our way back out like we normally do. I'm not going to get, filthy. And so I'm doing that. And I look out to see the dog. The dog's happy as a clam. He's out beyond the trees, and they look like ponderosa trees, great big giant pine trees everywhere, and hemlocks and stuff. It's real pretty. And I can see him running around, and he's okay. He can hear me. I'm happy with what he's doing. And I'm just trotting along. And I turn the corner, literally a 90-degree angle to go back in to start the trail to go now to the south side, which would be the other half of the slope that comes down where the Neolithic farm area is. And that side of the hill, because it got a lot of afternoon sun on the south side, was all blackberry and raspberry brambles. So it was a good place to pick berries and stuff. But additionally, there were really big trees. And in 2005, I believe, 2005, I'm sorry, they had a huge windstorm in Sweden. And that windstorm had knocked down hundreds and thousands of trees across the country. And in this particular area, it had taken down, if you've got a bunch of trees together in a copse, one goes down, they all start going down. So there were about 25 really big, trees that had come down, and they had their root butts up, like I call them pizza roots, where the tree's down, it's got a big root and then it's laying down, and the one behind it. So I came around one of these trees, and I'm walking, and I walked into that smell from 1 minute not being in it to another being in it. And I look to my right, I can see the dog out past the trees. He's 50, 75 yards out in the field. And right next to me, it's the tree root here, it's a big boulder with a tree root, and then it's real green. And I stopped just for a second. I smell something. I'm like, holy crap. And I didn't see anything. And I took another 2 or 3 steps, 3 steps maybe. And all of a sudden I look, because there's another tree root, the tree pizza sitting next to the tree pizza with its back next to me. So it's sitting on its butt, right? Its head is slightly bowed. I'm going to demonstrate. Its head is slightly bowed. It's got wide shoulders. Back is like a silverback gorilla sitting down. It didn't have, I always thought that a Bigfoot would have like a butt that would, you'd see the butt straight back pretty much all the way down. I can't see any legs. All I see is its back, the head, the shoulders. I can see on this arm to right about here, just above the elbow, and on the left arm, this left arm, I could see to the elbow, and it didn't move. And I mean, I just remember thinking, holy, okay. And is sitting down.
How close were you? Sorry to interrupt.
How close am I? I could have taken one step up and touched it. So as long as my arm plus a foot. Okay.
Wow.
And it was wide. It was much wider than, it was at least a foot wider on each side. So it didn't have a conical head so much. I didn't see a point. It had kind of it looked like 3/4 of a bowling ball. And then are they the trapezius muscles that come down?
Yeah.
And then the shoulders, and from the back, it looked, how when a bodybuilder, if you picture maybe Lou Ferrigno or Schwarzenegger or something, when they're posing and they go roar like that, they turn around and they flex their back muscles. It makes that big triangle. That's what its back looked like, but its arms were at its side. So it had the head that sloped down and the arms came down, and then it was just solid muscle, and then its butt was in the dirt. And as I walked by, and I've got my baseball cap on, its head was equal to my head, and I'm 5'8". So just slightly below the level of my head. And it would, I mean, I don't remember hearing anything at that point, more like a ringing in my ears. It was such a shock. And all I remember thinking is, I didn't really turn to look at it. I just remember wrapping my eyes, looking at it like this, looking to see once where the dog was, and then looking back. It never moved. The only thing I saw moving was there was dappled light coming through the trees. It hit a patch, the light hit a patch of its shoulder, like right here. And it illuminated it. And the skin doesn't have pores. The skin looks like elephant skin. If anybody's ever seen what elephant skin, it's real thick. It looks real thick and it's lined. So picture elephant skin. And then the hairs that I saw on its arm, now remember, this is going to be, late summer, early fall. It wasn't hairy. It had space, like a 1/4 inch between each hair. And the hairs were thick at their base, and they stuck up like a horse's mane. When you see a horse's mane, like an elephant. If you look at it's real thick at the base, or thicker at the base, and then it kind of comes up, and then it got real wispy at the ends. It was about 4 to 6 inches long. And its skin was a fire. When a fire goes out, it's sooty, that sooty gray. And then where the back muscles come together, where the back muscles come together and go down, the skin got darker, almost like, it wasn't black, but it was more like a graphite, like a dark graphite, as it would, in the shadow. But the rest of the skin was that sooty gray, and the hair was salt and pepper. So it was kind of long. It came down his shoulders, just like that. And then it sparsed out over the arms. It hardly had any hair on its back. It had hair, but it was real sparse. And honestly, its butt looked just like a silverback gorilla. And I'm taking this in as I'm walking by, but the light hit its shoulder. And I remember thinking, oh my God, its skin looks like an elephant, because I'd seen an elephant at a traveling circus the summer before. They have these little like mini circuses that come to town, almost like in the 40s, and there was an elephant that you could go pet. And I was like, oh, okay. So anyway, it looked like this thing. And the hair was just wafting. The end of it was just wafting in the wind. And it was almost translucent at the end. It was very soft and gentle, and that thing never moved. And all I can remember thinking as I walked by it is, fuck, sorry, they're real, they're real, and don't run. Don't run. Don't run. Don't
That's
run.
probably smart, yeah.
Yeah. And it never moved. I think I must have surprised it, because normally I would have gone all the way around, and here, boink, there I am. And I had 2 ways out. I could either go straight through all those blackberries and right up the hill about 15 feet, or if I'd gone on the trail, I would have had to have scrambled over, like literally put my body on, thrown a leg up, and gone over the first tree and then under the second tree. And I would have had that thing 10 feet behind me, 15 feet behind me at my back. Screw that. I went straight through the brambles. I mean, I didn't care. And the whole time I was thinking, oh my God, I hope the dog doesn't come running up. I hope he stays where he is. And he did. And my ears, I don't remember hearing any sound at all. Just, I think I must have been listening, is it going to eat me or kill me or whatever? And I went right up that hill. I got to the top of the hill, and now I'm in the flat part. It's behind me. I didn't hear anything. I walked, the 30, 40 yards through the, the ruin area. And then the dog was naturally coming back around now on the field. And I, called him, come, and came, and he was right at my hill. And we walked out, and I walked straight out to the car, quarter mile, got in the car. The first noise I remember hearing, I sat down in the car and I hit the locks. I locked the car. And that's the first noise I remember hearing, is just the car locks. Oh my God. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. And I just drove home. And I never said anything to my husband. I think it took me 3 or 4 days, a couple glasses of wine before I said, I have something to tell you. We had only, like, we were still relatively newlywed. I mean, I'm 40 at this point, so it's not like I'm 20 something going, honey, I'm an adult woman coming home and telling my husband, what I've seen. And he listened very patiently. You could tell I was scared. I was crying. He said, well, I tell you what, when you're ready, we'll go back out and look around and see what you can see. And I was like, oh, I'm not going first. Forget that.
Yeah.
Maybe later. I just appreciated his listening to me. But that right there solidified my entire adventure into, I guess, as they say, going down the tunnel that is, Bigfoot research, or not research, observation would be better. Observation.
Now, has your husband, did he ever see anything at all?
The answer to that question is yes. His level of admittance is low. He saw the footprints in the ice. I sent Jerry some pictures. He did see the footprints in person in the ice, and he's seen the pictures. He's heard the whistles, though. On several occasions when we've been out, we've heard low whistles. Just one, long and drawn out, very deep. I've never heard people say wood knocking. I've never heard wood knocking. I've heard knocking, but to me it sounded, when I would go into an area, it sounded like rocks being hit, or what I like to call my call sign. They have cuckoo, which I didn't know coming from the desert there were real birds. I thought that was something that came out of a clock, which is a whole different story. But I would pull up, but I get out of the car, and if I didn't hear wood knocks, like 3 rock clacks as I went in an area, I would hear like this really weird deep cuckoo. Once I heard a duck whose voice cracked in the middle of the woods, so I would hear that. He's heard some weird noises. He's smelled some weird things, and at our summer house, he's seen them. Later on, several years down the road, we ended up having him around our summer house too, which I think I don't know how, but I think we were being observed. It's a long, drawn out 10-year story, but anyway, we did end up having a different group around our summer house, and they would watch us. And one day he went out, we just come in, we're opening, it's a cabin, a summer house. It's a log cabin, tiny little log cabin, it's small. And he was going around to turn on the water, and the bathroom is in the back. And he scared something that had been hiding in a bush. And he came back in. It said it jumped up and it ran, and then it stopped and looked at him. And it was bigger than anything he'd ever seen. And he came back in, my mighty Viking Swede, came back in white as a sheet, kind of disturbed, and then said a couple days later, I think it must have been a deer. And he tries to, yeah, and his answer is, look, it's enough that I don't have to, but I will always go out with you in the woods and help protect you. But I need to stay brave because I love hunting. And while I believe that you are seeing these things and I've seen the evidence, I think it would ruin hunting and being out with him, and he adores that. So he doesn't want to let it ruin his hunting. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
It was hard for me to go back the first time I got screamed at.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Would so your husband's from Sweden
Yeah, he's Swedish.
and is Swedish, and they grow up, from what I understand, a lot of the troll lore is like that's in their stories when they're kids. And and you and I talked a little bit prior to about, the trolls, and I've got a comparison here between, somebody asked earlier, Wendell asked earlier, what's Bigfoot called in Sweden, and you said there's really no name for it.
They would call him a troll. It's pronounced troll, Troll, but the O has little dots over umlauts. And they also could call them snowmannen, a snowman.
Oh, okay.
Snowmannen, it's snowmen. So they could call him snowman.
Okay. Did he think when whatever, before he said it was probably a deer, did you get any kind of answer out of him that it might be something like, does he believe in that kind of stuff, or is that just simply lore to him?
That is lore. That is,
okay.
He's an engineer through and through. The man's
I get that. I get that.
ex-military engineer. He's a gun expert. There's no shade of gray. It's either black or it's white. So I'm the gray. That's what I would be.
Now, what made you said earlier about a family, what made you think that besides a smaller footprint, did you see different size at different time? I mean, as far as these creatures, did you see more than one? Did you, was it small, did you see more than one?
The answer to that is yes. And I did see more than one, not together, but at different times. So you could recognize the coloring in the individuals. I found different size footprints, including 2 little footprints one day that had jumped out of an apple tree and landed in the mud. And it was cold and wet. I'm like, who's going to let this little kid in the middle of the woods? These are abandoned these are wild apples at this point. Little tiny feet. And at the top of that moor, remember I said I smelled that kind of sweet smell?
The honeysuckle.
The honeysuckle, really musky honeysuckle. I'll try not to get in a shaggy dog story, but at that location, when the dog ran up the hill, we did go back there like a year later or 2 years later. Just I want to see what's up there, because he would go with me. My husband would go with me, because by that time I'd been growled at a couple times and I wasn't as comfortable being alone in the wood, like in the deep woods. I wanted some company, And so we went up there and I found a damn nest. But I didn't realize what I found. We looked and it was, it looked like a big eagle's nest, but it wasn't being used. It was about 5.5 feet wide, I could step down into it, about 2 feet deep, 2.5 feet deep, intricately woven. It was under this big, beautiful oak tree, and it was on the south, slightly east, top side of that moray. So it would have been those willow trees. It was right above those willow trees. If I'd gone around where the dog ran and went up there, and I wonder if that kerfuffle that I heard wasn't a female who happened to be up there and got rid of Spud, and then whatever was maybe the male or whatever was in the pine trees watching. I don't know. But why would there be a bit? And I didn't know what it was. Even my husband was like, well, that's weird. I wonder what what is this? And then 4 or 5 years later, we hear about the Olympic project, and they start talking about, nests. And damn if it didn't look like a gorilla nest. I looked it up after that came out. It's one of those things you file away under, this is weird. And then later on down the road, you think, holy crap, that's what that was. That had to have been what that was. And it was filled with, it wasn't being used anymore. So there was a layer of oak leaves from the tree, but there was pine boughs and stuff underneath it.
Oh,
So
wow.
that was weird. And then, 2 occasions when I was out by myself, and you got to remember, this is over a period of, months and years, right? I'm not just boom, 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 boom. It's happening. It's observation. 2 other times I'm out, different sections of the nature reserve. The first one I found was in an area that is, it's all hazelnuts. And hazelnuts kind of grow, in big bushes, and they kind of seem to grow grouped together. But it's a cool place to be, especially it does get warm there, in the summertime. It's hot, it's kind of sticky. And if you just wanted to go and lay down at night or eat hazelnuts, it's a wonderful foraging spot. Well, the other thing that likes hazelnuts are wild boar. And at that particular time, there were a ton of wild boar. You'd hear them. You'd hear the little squealies. And I would kind of put the dog on leash then and try to stay out of their way. Last thing I want to do is get a run-in with a sow or somebody grumpy. But anyway, I'm walking through the hazelnut area, not hearing anything. And what I found was, and again, I've got pictures, it's a really, really intricately woven, extremely sturdy, partially built into the base of a hazelnut tree, sticking out what looks like a crib. But this is like a cage, and it's shaped conically. So the top is tightly woven up here, and then it gets wider, and it's been stuck into the ground. So, and I thought, you know what? And by now I found the little prints afterwards. But by now I was thinking, I wonder, because I found what I think are the female's footprints in the ice. I'd seen the male's footprints, right? And I'm thinking, okay, there was a nest. I wonder if that wasn't, there's 2 of you, right? Or you have a little one and you're needed to hunt, because they do hunt plain Indian style. They in this particular area, I think they would, like, you hunt with dogs when you're hunting boar, you drive, when you're on a moose hunt, you drive and you're driving them, the animals. I think that's how they hunt. I think they make noise, and I would find, what do you call it? Blinds, but it's a dead, where the animals set the kill spot, it's a kill blind, set up. I can't think of the word right now. Anyway, I think they were putting the baby, a choke, a choke point, but a blind. If you drove it into a choke point and there was a blind set up where the thing would be, that would be the kill spot.
Yeah.
Right.
Ambush.
And again, observation over months and years. But I think that they would put the baby in there, or the little one, so it couldn't get out and nothing could get in, especially the boar. And they could hunt the wild boar in there, or the deer. The deer used to go in bed in there too.
Sure.
So I found 2 of those, one in that hazelnut location and one about half a mile away, again, in an area. Now, this was more right on the edge of a big meadow, but the same idea, built sort of into a tree, kind of a conical shape, really sturdy. And I thought, God, if I had a toddler or something that I didn't want to get out, that's exactly what I would do if I had to provide for my child.
I've seen woven stuff like that before.
Okay.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. But when you see it, I had no one to talk to. So I'm just taking pictures thinking, that's interesting,
Somebody asked a question here. Do hikers, campers, or hunters go missing in large numbers in Sweden? Like, we have a missing 411 here where people, hikers, do you have anything like that happening in Sweden?
Sweden has a very small population. So it's the size of California with 17 million people. It's not very populated. The answer is not in the same way, although people do go missing. And I will say that there are probably more people missing that are not Swedish. Do you remember when they were having that mass migration, when they were what country were they? They were kind of marching on Europe and everybody was coming up. Do you remember that? It was a few years ago, like 2018. Okay.
Yes.
Well, people were coming as far as they could get, and a little bit like the migrants when you see them here, and you'd find abandoned campsites in the woods when I was out. And I often wondered if, like, every now and then I would find like a shirt, like a ripped shirt hanging in a tree. Or, you find weird things, and you would think, why would you, if you're camping rough and you're trying to make your way through to Norway or be here in Sweden, whatever, why would you leave everything here?
Yeah.
So I think that they don't have a homeless problem the system is set up a little bit differently. So it's not like it is here where you see more people camping out and stuff. That doesn't really exist there at all. Not to say it doesn't exist, but it's not done in the same way. But when I was in the woods a little bit more, because then I was thinking, I have to kind of be on my guard because you just don't know. When I was walking through the woods, and in the middle of nowhere in the woods, you'd find an abandoned tent that looked like it was trashed. And I would think, we don't have bears. We don't have anything that would do that. I wonder if.
Yeah, you would have never thought that unless you obviously had your experience. But wow,
It's just stuff over time that make you go,
Yeah, right.
And the only thing we ever did have happen that I don't think it was Bigfoot related, I think it was more of a 411. There was a college kid once that disappeared walking home from the university that's right on the edge of the preserve where I am. Preserve is right next to a golf course. On the other side of that is a rock quarry and the Air Force Base. This kid was walking home. Everybody reported him walking home from a party. 1, 2 in the morning, not uncommon in Sweden, but he never made it back to his dorm. They looked everywhere in the woods, and my husband was with law enforcement, and a lot of our friends were, and they were helping in that search. One of our best friends is a canine handler, and man, they went through those woods up pretty much, how you do a grid pattern up and down, tagging him. I would find tags where they had been, They found him 10 days later, floating naked in the pond with the fountain in front of the golf course restaurant. And they said he died of drowning.
Interesting.
That was a weird one. And then I didn't know about 411. So when I did find out, because I do follow David Pilatus, because I think it's interesting, I always question that. So you never know. You never know.
Nope, you don't. That's for sure. Okay. Well, let me see if there was anything else I had question-wise from anybody. If anybody's got any questions, throw them in chat here. Now that I'm paying attention to chat, she has me kind of hypnotized with what she's telling me. So, not really.
I do. I have a question. If I can pose a question out there, because on several occasions, like I've heard that, the chatter, they call it the samurai chatter. I've heard that. I've heard giggling, but one night, and I've been growled at, which is no fun. But one night, it was in November, and there's a big meteor shower that happens in November. And this is down south at our cabin, and it's right on the coast. And when we sold the cabin, when we moved back to the States, I found out that road that ran by our cabin, which wasn't used anymore, it was more of a cow path, was really ancient. I mean, like ancient road. And wake up in the middle of the night. Patrick is asleep, and I see the dog would sleep between us, and his head is up and he's listening. And I was always alert because they would smack the house. I mean, at that point in time, they were around the house. They were looking in the windows and stuff. And I heard chanting.
Chanting?
That it sounds like Mongolian throat chanting. Really low. And it walked from the far corner of our property pretty much through the front yard, up, sorry for my hands. I forget I'm on screen. Sorry about that. Walk through our property and up the road, and I'm listening. And the whole time it sounds exactly like that really deep,
Like a guttural.
yeah. Like if you listen to Mongolian throat chanting, if you go to YouTube, pull up Mongolian throat and get the deepest one you can find, the deepest, most guttural one. And in between, so that's pretty constant. Okay. Then I can hear what I would describe as a female sounding sound, more melodic, kind of singing like a melody. All right. Same kind of idea, but more melodic. And then every now and then this little kid voice would go, like a little kid at Christmas time who remembers the 4 words from the hymn and chimes in and then doesn't say, and then chimes in. And I mean, I have goosebumps thinking about that. That scared the crap out of me. I listened to it go. It went on for a good couple minutes the whole way. And this is later on, I realized it was the night of the meteor shower, the biggest night of the meteor shower.
Okay.
And it disappeared. And then I said, I don't want to hear that again. I got up and I turned on the heater fans so I didn't have to hear anything. I'm like, I'm not dealing with that again. That was just weird. The only other person I know that's heard chanting was Kumbo.
Okay, I believe that.
Because I called Mary, and Mary Fabian said, you should listen to the Mongolian throat chanting, which is why I know what it sounds like. And I had to listen to several, and then I found it. I'm like, oh my God, so my question is, has anybody heard it? And is it not out of the realm of possibility that they sing their memories? And by that, I mean, hey, sorry, my dog. Hey.
Okay.
By that, I mean, Australian Aborigines they sing their songs, right, to get their way through the wilderness, right? Is it not possible that whatever he's chanting are the memories? Like if they're leaving, it's November, are they making their way back from the beach, from the summer? The berries are not in bloom anymore, right? It's, the corn is, just starting to come up and everybody's kind of getting ready for winter. Are they chanting on the night when they know that, there's the meteor shower every year at the same time? Are they singing their memories?
It's a good possibility. That's for sure. We don't know that. So
it just was, it's been mesmerizing to me ever since. I wondered that I think, oh my God,
Mark,
I wonder if that's possible.
You got anything to that, Mark?
We've
Have you
heard
heard anything?
what I would call humming, like somebody walking through the woods, just
That's what the female sounded like. That's what the female was kind of.
Yeah.
Or
that was up on Creepy Mountain where that would happen. And we've had them behind us before just talking, and it'd be just gibberish. It wouldn't be samurai. It'd be just, and this big going back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've heard that kind of stuff too. Camping in the mountains.
It's freaky.
One thing I was going to say why I'm thinking about it, and when she said it a while ago, it caught me really off surprise because I mentioned this to my wife a couple of weeks ago. I was up on Creepy Mountain. I was listening to 2 owls get to hooting, and they wasn't hooting right. But right after the 2 owls was a cockadoo. And I'm like, what in the world?
Yeah.
And when you said that a while ago, it just rung a bell because I have never heard nobody else mention that till now about hearing cockadoo like that. And that surprised me. So that caught me off guard because I come home and told her, I said, sound like a clock up there on the hunting club.
I always thought that was my call sign. I always called it my call sign. The cuckoo's here. Cuckoo, here she comes again.
Yeah.
But
I've heard what sounds like 3 different blue herons at the same time triangulating me at 4:00 in the morning, and blue herons normally aren't making those kind of noises at 4 a.m. outside of the barn.
No.
Have you heard any? Danny Buckner asks, have you heard any screams or young chatter? Probably chatter from a young one.
Okay, so the answer is yes, and two different total scenarios, both at the summer house. One night I woke up, I had a little potting bench, little cabin, and outside the cabin to the side was a little potting bench. And I woke up one night and we would sleep in the living room because it was warmer. We put the mattresses down on the floor in front of the fireplace. And I woke up in the middle of the night and it sounded like two little girls were giggling and playing with my pots.
Wow.
The terracotta pots. And I thought that was kind of fun. And it only lasted a little bit, maybe 4 or 5 minutes. And I listened to it. My husband's snoring. I mean, I'm not going to,
All right.
what do you, I mean, it would scare him. I was more interested in listening to him. So I heard that. And there were no children in the middle of the night playing with my pots on our
I
property.
wouldn't think so. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So that was different. And then another time at the summer house. So I've never been screamed at. I have been growled at and I've been bluff charged. Okay. I've had something say, like, hey, really loud twice that I didn't see. But one night at the summer house, and this is well before or right about the same time, or if not right just before I found the original footprints. We just got married. We were down at the summer house. It was summertime or late summer. And we were there, just my husband and I and our dog. And middle of the night, I heard what sounded like a group of Indians running through the woods, chasing something that was crashing. And then I heard a tree come down. So the best way I can think of it is I woke up and I felt like I was listening to the opening scene of Last of the Mohicans, where they're running through the woods.
Yep.
Except that there was whoop, 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 and there was a lot of that and a lot of it sounded like a herd. It sounded not like a Western, but reminded me more of Last of the Mohicans, that sound. And you know how an animal sounds. So if you're ever been moose hunting, or what a big elk sounds like, how they crash through the woods. They're crashing. Mm-hmm. You hear a lot of crashing and then this yelling. And then I heard a tree come down and then silence. And the next morning I got up and I said, sweetie, you're not right now. I got up and I was, I heard this weirdness. Did you hear that? No, I didn't hear anything. Okay. What did you hear? You must have been dreaming. I was not dreaming. And we went 2 houses over, and they're big, it's acreage, right? So, but it's all open, no fences. It's just green grass, and trees. And the third house down from ours, their big ash tree had come down in their backyard, and it was a healthy ash tree. I don't know. I thought maybe they were chasing another Bigfoot out. That's kind of what I thought. It sounded like something was being chased. I don't think it was a moose because it was making more noise than a moose normally would make.
Okay.
And then the tree came down. And that was it.
Interesting.
And nobody else was
louder
home.
than an
None of our other neighbors were there. None of those other neighbors were there. The neighbor behind us and nobody was home. It was just us. We were there. It must have been around Easter time because it was empty, or it was either Easter or the fall. Anyway, so that's the only yelling I've heard. I've not heard anything like the Ohio howl or anything like that.
Yeah, somebody had asked, or Hillary had asked if you'd ever heard the Sierra sounds, and were any of the sounds you heard anything compared to the Sierra sounds?
The only thing I've heard comparable to the Sierra sounds would be I've heard a couple whoops, whoop, whoop, like that, which is how I ended up getting bluff charged, because I did one stupidly. I will never do that again. And you only do it once. And I heard on 2 occasions, I heard really guttural samurai, like the big one, and the little one. It sounded, honestly, I was there early. I dropped my husband off at work. It was the area that I found the footprints in the ice. There happened to be a stand of willows that was surrounded by, they have the really tall moose fences, the deer fences. So it was a safe place. And I think they went in there in the summertime to sleep because no one could get in there. And they're not expecting me 7:30 in the morning to be in the field like a fool throwing the ball before work for the dog. And all of a sudden I hear a little one. It sounded like a young voice going, and then I hear what I'm assuming is dad, and then I hear a little silence and I'm yelling for the dog. And then it got louder and it went like, and then and what it reminded me of, I swear to God, it reminded me of your dad just got home from work. Dad, there's somebody here. What the hell are you doing? Let me sleep. I just got home from work. And you beat it. You're not supposed to be here till this afternoon. Get lost. And then the little kid, but Dad, shut up. Go back to sleep. That's what it reminded me of. And I just grabbed the dog, got back in the car, and we rolled. I got out of the field. I'm like, I'm just going home now. We're done. So, but that exchange is the only time I've ever heard the, and it was really guttural, and one was deep and one was obviously a young one.
Jerry wants to know, have you ever seen any orbs or UFOs?
I've seen one orb. I saw that with my husband, which we both, finally I saw something with him where he couldn't say, I didn't see that. Yes, at our summer house, we saw an orb going through. We thought it was an electric car because it wasn't making any noise. And we roped up the dog, came around the corner, and we'd only seen one headlight, what we thought was a headlight, but it was a basketball size orb going through the sheep field. And it was just kind of like that. Kind of wide arcs. It was kind of bouncing like that, undulating. And it went halfway. It came a long ways over and you know how Europe has the stone walls? Just picture the low stone walls.
Yep.
Okay.
One side is sheep, one side is woods. It came the sheep didn't bother the sheep. It came right along, and then halfway down the sheep field, we watched it. It was orange, basketball size, just kind of floated over the wall and disappeared into the woods. That's the only orb. That's the only orb I've seen. And then as far as UFOs, I mean, I live in Arizona, and there are very few people that haven't seen a little something weird in the sky.
Yeah, you guys definitely have that in Arizona.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We've got another question here. Other than slapping the house and looking into the window, were there any more aggressive conduct at your home or cabin?
Our home was in the city, so no, never at our house in the city. And the only aggressive behavior I ever experienced was I've had one baseball-sized rock not thrown at me, but as a warning in front of me. I've had 2 large branches not winged at me, but winged at the dog. And then I would turn around and I saw the arms going down. And then once I heard it running off, when the one ran off, I think it was the female, I turned to go, and next to me, I heard that was the one that kept me out of the woods after that. You've been warned and I will mess you up if you come back. It was the deepest growl and it terrified me. It was right next to me. And it's real green and mossy. So, like with the ferns, kind of almost waist high ferns, I never saw it. It was somewhere to my left as I was walking down the trail to get away. Obviously they didn't want me there. And this thing growled. I never went in the woods alone after that. I got growled at once at the cabin, but that's because I think I surprised it. And it was kind of funny.
All right.
So that would be
You
it.
want to ask this question?
Yeah, I got one. Have you ever heard one try to mimic somebody doing something? Like a person snoring or anything like that? Because I experienced that once. When
That's
we were
interesting.
turkey hunting in the mountains, and I'd had stuff happen there the year prior. Well, no, that same year, and then this year I heard gibberish the one night, and it was so weird. It was like I could hear my buddy next to me snoring, and then my other friend was over here. Well, I'm hearing snoring coming directly across, and we're the only three people that are camped out on that stretch of it, and it's midnight. And I just keep hearing the snoring, and I'm terrible at describing noises, but you can just imagine somebody over here sawing logs, and then directly across, I hear exactly what he's doing, and I'm like, the hell? And then it clicks in my head. I'm like, no. So I'm starting to rummage around trying to find my light, and it heard me, I think, because it stopped. And then I just kind of unzipped it real quick and looked out there trying to find it. Next morning, there was an X right there.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, that's your answer.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mark,
That's
Mark,
cool.
do you have any questions, Mark?
Well, did they ever leave you any gifts or anything like nuts or rocks or flowers or even animals or anything like that around your cabin? Or, would they leave anything or something you just noticed that was not really supposed to be there, but you come across it or something?
They never left anything at the summer. They never left anything that I noticed for me. However, I do think that Spud and the young one really, whenever the young one I think was around, we'd be in the woods and we'd be on one path, and I'd turn around and take that path back out. So I'd been there, and what I would find were old beat up, either like a toy that would. Once I found a monkey on a keychain, and like a ball, an old beat up ball. Another time I found a red, kids would put sand in it, to make like a sand creature. It was a crab, a red crab, in the middle of the woods. And I'd already been on that way once, and I come back and there's nobody else around. So I found that, but they were toys for the dog. So that was interesting. And then the same year that I heard the giggling in the pots outside the summer cabin. So our front stoop was 3 stairs. It was cement stoop. And then you walked into a covered alcove, where we took our boots and stuff off, and my husband had his hunting boots there, and they're tall. You know how tall a man's hunting boot is, right? And he got up in the morning and he went to put his foot in his boot, or was it night? It was still at night, and he was going to go out around back to the bathroom. And I hear this, like this yell. And he'd stuck his foot in the boot, and there was a frog in there.
That is why I always shake my boots out before I put them on.
How did a little frog get up a 1 foot tall cement stoop and then jump again and get into the boot?
Yeah.
I think they dropped something in the boot, and then they just wanted to see this big old
probably
guy.
want to laugh.
Yeah. Go leaping around the yard trying to find out what the hell was in his shoe and screaming and yelling.
I always shake mine out because the dogs end up spilling dog food in there sometimes when I'm getting dog food out of the tub next to my boots on the back porch.
Cryptic Crystal has a question. What is you don't have to say what it is, but what is your blood type? Have you ever been struck by lightning? I always ask, have you ever had a near-death experience? Anything like that?
What is my blood type? My blood type is O, I guess positive. That's
I don't even know what mine is.
I have never been struck by lightning that I know of.
That's good.
However, I am a cancer survivor.
Okay.
So we did come back from Sweden, and we got back to the States, and I found out I had cancer, went through treatment, and now, thank God, I'm okay. But I
Yeah.
thought that was interesting because some people make a correlation. I don't know that I would, but sometimes that's a correlation.
Now, do you
But
still go to
I am sensitive to stuff. What?
you still go to Sweden?
We try to go every year. Sure, his parents are there. Yeah.
I'll ask this question from Wendell. It's a lot of people in these groups we've noticed have what they call the double M's in the palm of your hand. It's supposed to be something rare, but if it's rare, a lot of people in these groups have what I don't know. The
I
M
can't
in-
see it from this far.
Okay, yeah, the M in the palm of my hand. It's in both of my palms, and a lot of
Mine
people say that you have the ability.
and Mark.
Yeah, you have the ability to see. Yes, you've got them.
Well, you got them. Yeah.
You've got them.
I don't know what it is. I'll have to go back and watch this section so I
Yeah,
can
just
see.
I'll show you. If you can see
Oh.
that, there's an M there,
Yeah.
and this one has an M. Like it's just like yours.
Okay.
That's supposed to be so rare. So I'm wondering. I'm the guy that's never seen Bigfoot. I'm the guy that's only had fingerprints on my car. So I ask a lot of questions as far as like vibrational, near death, stuff like that, to see if maybe something in our bodies have changed to allow people to see things that other people can't see. So I always use these things as questions for myself to see if a lot of people in this group have been actually in these groups have been affected by lightning at one point, whether it was struck, near something's hit near them and they felt the jolt from electricity, or maybe their car's been hit by by lightning, and maybe that's something I've always looked at. But I've always thought maybe that vibrations in your body allow you to see things that other people might not be able to see, or sense things that other people can't sense. And I bring up animals because of cats and dogs. Obviously, animals can see things that we can't. And I wonder sometimes if our bodies get to the verge where we can see some of those things, but it's because our bodies are more electrified, or our vibrations higher, or whatever. And we had that ability. I didn't know. She asked that question.
I would. Okay, this is where we get into, people either take you seriously or they think you're a nutcase. And I don't think you're a nutcase, because I think that I'm, okay, so you said, can you see, you can see Bigfoot. Great. Have you seen orbs? Well, sure. I saw an orb. Have I seen things in the sky that I can't explain? Yeah. But I will tell you that I do, on several occasions, I think that what you're saying is there's something to it. And I have friends that, my own personal theory is, I think there are probably men too, but I know women, especially in Sweden and in Europe. And I don't know if it's because they're more in tune with nature. You'd have to be that they're out in nature. They are not constantly bombarded and trapped by being in the city, by being unnatural things all the time that block it. But I have a lot of friends, more than a handful, who have seen or experienced ghosts in their home. I mean, yeah, it's a very ancient place. It's not uncommon to have a haunted house or a haunted schoolroom or whatever. Okay. It's not uncommon to experience different things and so you don't want to say a white witch or they're witches, because they're obviously not. But I mean, I know that when I'm near granite, this is going to sound absolutely crazy. So when I go to Sedona, one of my favorite places in the world, there's a lot of iron in the rock. And when I was in Sweden, there's a ton of granite everywhere. And I swear, when you put your hand on the right piece of rock, you can feel almost like an electric charge.
I believe
And when I'm in Sedona, they're called a vortex. There's one specific one that I always go to, and it feels like I have electricity running through my body. I don't know what that is. I always thought I was weird. I still think I'm a little bit weird, but I'm not I'm not alone in that. So I think what you're saying, I think there's probably something to that.
Well,
And
I'm sorry.
that's okay. I was just going to say, I don't think you're off.
Well, Mark lives near a place that we usually have a once a year a meet and greet at in Sylacauga, Alabama. And Mark, what is it that we're technically camping on there at Hollins?
Well, quartz. There's a big quartz bed there, but also you're on the 33rd parallel.
Okay.
And also we got some of the largest marble deposits in the United States, probably in the world. So a lot of marble, which is a type of limestone.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of energy here, a lot of energy.
And my wife and I are we at our last meet and greet with everybody, we were sleeping in our vehicle, and the same night we didn't know about that night, but the next day we found fingerprints on our vehicle. But that night we felt like a vibration, not like something's pushing on it, but like a vibration.
Yeah.
And we both felt that, but we didn't talk about it till the next morning. And I said, "Did you feel it?" She's like, "I felt it too." I'm like, "Okay." So I get what you're saying there. And it's, I think the land has a lot to do with, what we can feel. And like Mark talking about 33rd parallel, that's a big deal as well. That's in a lot of, area 51, all of that area down there. One of the things I wanted to bring up is you talking about the ruins a lot where you were living in Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think these things might have been like, okay, this is going to sound silly, but like protectors of the ruins, or just creatures that, obviously there's a lot of folklore in Sweden about a lot of different folklore, just like there is in the States, but that these things might have been something that are there to protect those areas?
I don't know that they're there to protect those areas. I do think they utilize, my personal thought is they utilize those areas because just like for the Neolithic people, they were serviceable areas. They gave natural protection, natural viewpoints. They take advantage of the land, just like a Native American would, just like an Inuit would. You have some sort of advantage to help you survive. I think that in my tribe, that's what I've found. Now, that being said, I think they protect their areas that they're in.
Oh, yeah.
When I whooped, so going back, I did whoop once. I'm in the field. Oh, I'm throwing the stick with it up. And I just for fun, hey, they're doing it on TV. I whooped 1, 2. I did it 3 times. Threw the stick, and then behind me on the hill, I hear like a question mark, like, whoop. And within a matter of less than 60 seconds, I had some sort of travel trailer or tank coming through the woods. And I just backed up. The dog stood there, and I'm getting bluff charged, and it stopped at the edge of the woods. I never saw anything. It stopped. And the feeling that washed over me was like, I whooped whatever was on the hill, probably the female, because it sounded female, like almost like a question. Yeah. And then the male came through and bluff charged me. But the overwhelming feeling I got was, you, how did you know? And then the next feeling I got was, oh, I effed up. Not me, it let itself be seen. And 2 weeks later, I was in that Neolithic farm area. I had just walked in. I'm on the phone. Hi, sweetheart. I'll come pick you up. Yeah, okay. I'll be there at 4. Blah, blah, blah. It's 2:30 in the afternoon. And as I'm talking to him, Spud comes up next to me. The dog comes up next to me. And I start hearing boom, boom, footprints, footsteps, deliberate footsteps, because they can move without you hearing them if they want to, crunching through the woods. And I said, sweetheart, I've got to go. There's something walking up to me. And I said, I'm at the farm I called it the farm. If anything happens, I'm at the farm. Okay. And he's like, do you want me to be on the phone? I'm like, no, I need to go now. And I hung up because I wanted to know what was going on. And whatever it was, I never saw it. Spud was tracking something. I never saw it. And I should have been able to. And it walked up 3 pine trees. They were hemlocks, they're real thick. One tree in a triangle, 3 trees, 1, 2, third tree. It was somewhere behind the 3rd tree. It was back there. So it could see me. I couldn't see it. And I just got in my head, I got this feeling of, who are you? Here first. I was here first. How do you know? And I had just started listening to, was it Sasquatch? It was Kumbo. I think it was the old one when Kumbo would talk, they had Brenda Harris on. This would have been this was 2012, 2013. And I remember Brenda Harris saying, she's a native Navajo. And she said, never looked them in the eye. So I just put my hands down. I lowered my head and I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I won't disturb you. And I literally backed up and I just very calmly walked out back to the road, got in my car and I drove away. And it was, over a year before I went back. And that's the same area that I walked by where it was. And so I don't know what that was all about. So
Greg,
I got nothing.
Greg House wants to know, how far away was it when it stopped on the bluff charge? Or do you think it was, I should say?
Well, it was within an area. There was a triangular shaped area that was probably 75 by 75 by 75 feet. And it was completely enclosed by, the deer fence, the high, 4 foot wide, 4-inch wide mesh, with the big posts. And it was kind of a marshy area there. And so it was real willow. It was filled with willows. You couldn't see through it. And I was probably 20 or 30 yards away from the edge because there was a farm, there was a field, and then there was the tractor road, and I was kind of just off the tractor road. So I was close enough where if it had been, I should have, in my opinion, I should have, given the noise, seen the trees, I should have seen something, but I didn't see anything at all. It was just green. It was just green. And then the lower, 4 to 5 feet of the really dense willows.
Okay.
So,
Jeff, you want to ask the next question? You're muted.
I'm muted.
I'm sorry. Technical difficulties tonight. Greg wanted to know if you could feel the footsteps. Or if you
As well as hear him, yeah.
yeah.
When it was walking through the woods towards me, I did not feel the footsteps. No. I've only felt that impact twice. The one time when the dog came running down the hill and I thought, I heard something come down behind me. I felt the impact on the ground when it jumped. And then when I got growled at that last time in the ferns after it threw that stick at me and I saw the arm go down, that was the red. I think it was the female. The arm went down. I saw the head and then I heard boom, boom, like it was running away from me. And that's when I felt the footprints. You can't feel footprints. You've got the footsteps, you know what I mean? Right. Yeah, no, but that's the only time. They're awfully big. When they growl at you, it makes your insides rattle.
You feel
I've never.
Oh,
that's terrifying. That is absolutely terrifying.
I still don't know how I managed to go back out after that night. I tell you one thing, I don't work on deer stands in the dark anymore. That was the last time I did that.
I wouldn't either.
I know Mark has a lot of those types of experiences at his place as well. The sounds and everything, and
been growled at a lot of time, been hollered at. Oh yeah, rocks thrown, limbs thrown, you name it, it's happened. So
That would
But
make
one
me nervous. Yeah. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Have you ever
I didn't
seen
mean
like
to
eye
interrupt you.
shine?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Have you ever seen like eye shine or
Yes.
sleep?
And
Okay.
I've seen eye shine, and then those damn things glow on their own. So it's not just eye shine. They glow that deep. I think I've seen real bright red, and then I've seen the amber orange red, and they're lit all on their own. That's not ambient.
There's
Right.
a good question.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Dogman. You ever see anything weird like that?
Hell no, don't want to ever see one and scare the crap out of me. No.
That seems to be the general consensus when Dogman comes up.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah, that would scare me. I don't know what that. I mean, I've seen stuff about it, of course, because I find it interesting.
Yeah, there's that one Greg was saying he's had one huff grunt at him from about 6 feet.
Yeah, no.
Greg hangs out with Coonbo a lot as well, and
He's only
they've
about
got-
an hour away from Coonbo. They live.
yeah,
not
the
far
stories, the experiences those two have. Greg has so many experiences at his man cave, and so you'll have to go back if you ever get the chance. Go back and check out Old Line Cryptid show. It was just not too long ago we had Greg on, I believe,
Yeah.
but we've had Greg on before, and boy, he's got some neat experiences. That's for sure.
apart. Yeah.
Wow. No, that would scare the hell out of me. And if he's close to what is the LBL down there, that's a whole.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, no.
Kentucky, Tennessee right there. Greg is about, not far away from Mark, really, is he?
Yeah.
Mark?
Greg's 2 hours from me. Yeah.
2 hours there in
And Greg
Alabama.
is actually right up against the Bankhead National Forest. So
And there's a lot of stuff that goes on. I just think that my opinion, again, I've never had an experience with anything except for fingerprints, is that these things are just like people. They're everywhere. They're just really good at hiding. And, that's why I asked about if, vibrations and stuff like that. If some people have the ability more than other people to see these things or that they show themselves to a certain type of person.
yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question for me to ask, but what do you think? And I'm going to think your answer is probably what I'm thinking. Flesh and blood or spiritual. What do you think?
Are you asking me?
Yes. I'm
You're
sorry.
asking me? I'm sorry. That's okay. I think that they're flesh and blood.
Okay.
But because they're physical. The whole, I don't want to say it's mind speak, but it's weird. Whatever's happening is weird. And why would that appear in my head or not appear? Is it just me being sensitive, thinking, well, this is what I would say? Or is it just really I'm hearing it in my head? That's a little odd. I think they're very ancient.
Yes.
And we don't know enough about it. I've had some really out there experience, not out there. I've had a couple really weird experiences where, I think I saw one, people talk about that. Is it the predator? That
The camouflage.
it looks like the camouflage. I'm pretty sure I saw one do that in the woods one day before I knew what it was. And thinking back now, I think that was really strange. I saw a really big flash of light one day in the snow driving where I thought it was like a boom of light like that. And I stopped the car thinking that I was going to, get a tractor or something coming around. Nothing. And just a minute later, the dog had his head out the car and something pegged the dog in the face. And he squealed and he came back and stood there and watched something walk in front of the car. And there was nothing there. So how do you explain that? It's just one of those things where I think that they're flesh and blood. I think because they are so large and so ancient, they might have capabilities. Just like I said, people are more in tune to nature. They live in nature. They live in nature. They have not forgotten what humans have forgotten. I think it's been, I don't want to say culturally drained out of us, but you know what I mean? Civilization drains that out of a person, where a lot of people aren't in tune to that. You know,
Since I'm the conspiracy theory guy and I have that show, I tend to believe that a lot of what we are given as we grow up in our food system is doesn't give us the ability. It takes away our ability to have that extra sense. And I say that because how many times have little kids had imaginary friends?
Or dreams where you remember a past life or part of something that you shouldn't remember at that age.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
right?
I think as time progresses and we eat the things we eat, drink the things we drink, those things are not natural. And it's got chemicals in it, fluoride being one of them, that kills our, I'll think of the word of it in a second, but it numbs our senses of what we can see and have the ability maybe in the past that our ancestors, the American Indian especially, had the ability to see, and Inuits and all of the the Aztecs and the Mayans. I think that something is clogging that ability for us, and I think maybe some people can still have enough of that in them that they can see these things. Maybe that's another one of my theories. I don't know. Greg asked. Greg said he believes they're physical with extra abilities and spiritual. And I kind of think that's where I lean as well.
I think that's a really nice definition. That kind of encompasses, I would say that too.
Yeah, that's calcify the pineal gland. That's what I was looking for. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Look, there's Mary. Hi, Mary.
Sorry. Is that Mary Fabian?
Yeah.
Hi. I think that just like animals are in tune, I think that when you remove yourself from the hustle and bustle of the everyday world and you just breathe and you become more in tune with the earth, when you live I went from living in the city to living not in the country, but completely surrounded and just really embracing nature. I'm not out there like a hippie, going barefoot through the woods, but I mean, there's a lot to be said for just sitting under a tree.
Absolutely.
Right.
So
I think that's possible.
It goes back to the earth and how the earth connects with us. And I am definitely not a hippie, but I truly believe that our planet can connect to us through electrical currents. It's just, if you allow it to happen and just go with the flow, is what I tell everybody. If you can sit under a tree and just clear your mind, I think you can have that ability to feel that. I just think we don't connect with the earth anymore. There's, like you said, hustle and bustle. And I think these creatures still have that ability. They still, this is their life. This is how they live. They don't want to live like us. I wouldn't hope.
No, I think we represent something that they abhor. We're just, right. My dad always said he wouldn't believe in Bigfoot. He didn't, but he always said, I don't know, but men are a plague upon the earth.
Absolutely.
And that rings true when you're out in nature a lot. 'Cause I miss the woods every single day. Just being able to be out and breathe and hear the birds, hear the water. And how many times have you walked by a deer and not even known it?
Yep.
And if you sit still and you're really quiet and you just barely breathe, and all of a sudden nature comes alive around you. So what is that to say that they're not doing the same thing? That thing was sitting perfectly still when I walked by. The only thing I saw was its hair on its arm moving, right? I never would have known it was there. I would have continued on my merry way, which I probably did. It could have hung out there every single afternoon for all I knew.
Yeah.
And just recognized me because I wore a red jacket every day, right?
Uh-huh.
So
I walked past a deer in a log pile like 3 or 4 times one day, carrying stuff back and forth to a deer stand. And then finally on like the last trip back, it jumped up and took off. I'm like,
did it wave when it left? Hi,
I couldn't believe it sat there that long.
I know. They're always standing in the parking lot smoking cigarettes as you drive off after the end of the day. You've been out there all day. You've seen deer all week, and then they just stand there out. They just
Well,
watch
that's
you
what I
drive.
tell. That's what I tell my wife about cows. When we drive by, they're all eating, chewing cud, but as soon as we get by, they all stand on their hind legs and talk about what they're doing today. And
Sure.
Mine are probably figuring out how they're going to ruin my morning tomorrow when I go back in there.
But
does anybody
I
go ahead? I'm sorry.
I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. It's okay.
Does anybody in chat have any more questions? Please, if you have them, throw them in chat. I've been trying to get them all. I might skip a few here and there if they've been already talked about. Or Mark, you got any questions while you're? I haven't really hit on you.
I was going to ask her about when she was finding the ambush points. That were they like in a trail, and that trail would curve, and that ambush point would be in that curve of that trail? You kind of see what I'm saying? Like they might take a tree and lay that tree down parallel with that trail, and it'd be close to a green field. Like here in Alabama, we have green fields for the deer.
Mhm.
The ambush point would be like 100 feet from the green field, and the deer would come down that trail. I think they would take and push the deer off the green patch, make them go down that trail, and they'd be like a tree. Down here it'd be a loblolly pine or a longleaf. They'd lay it down, because what we would find right there in that curve, that tree lay there, and you could see where something stood on the other side of that tree. And you go to thinking about it, when a deer gets to that curve, he's going to slow down. It's going to make that turn just like we would. We go around the corner, we're going to slow down just a little bit, and that Bigfoot or booger would have enough time to come around and smack it or whatever it's going to do. Is that kind of what you were seeing in that same?
Yes, and I think it depended on what they were hunting. So I found one very similar to what you're talking about. That had been a moose. This was on my husband's farm. It was his grandparents' farm, but now they use it for forestry. It was a kill box, just like that, like you're talking about with the turn, and something had taken a moose there. Now there are no bear, right? So, and no one's hunting on their land. There's nobody out there. So it just happened to be this, like you said, like there was a big tree with a stand of trees and the thing had to come around. Now a moose, it was too big to jump over. So that was one I noticed. And then they would use kill boxes. That's the word I'm thinking of. But they'd narrow it like you're talking about. I never saw anything on the side of the fields unless I would find a big rock. I think sometimes they just throw rock, like they've got really good arms. And I think they can kill a deer. They can hit what they're aiming for. When the deer feed just at sunset, they come down on the fields and they're feeding there on the edge, And I found several places where you could see that there were hides. By hides, I mean like where something big would be hiding. Just like you would do, just like a hunter would do. They can't really see you, and then you reach out or grab it at the last minute. And then when they hunted with the wild boar, it would be more like kind of running them through, I think, and then you'd have kind of a kill box where something would reach out and maybe grab it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Kind of.
What they're probably doing is they probably had some behind it, funneling it along.
Yeah.
And then there was probably one ahead of it. And while it's watching whatever's coming up behind it, there's probably one that's going to either hit it with something or jump out and, grab it.
That's kind of the feel that I got. I've got on my, I have YouTube. I haven't posted there in a while, but there are some pictures of what I think were kill boxes, where I kind of walk around and you could see that there was obviously, something had happened there.
Probably driving them towards the other ones.
Yeah. Have you guys, well, this is unusual. I'll ask because I'm not sure Mary knows about this, but on several occasions, especially when they had the little one, and also when I think they might have been hunting, I would find in the fields or laid out kind of like a map.
That's Mary was just
Mary saying. I've got that down. Mary asked that. Did
Yeah, that
Suzanne talk about the map she found?
not yet. On two different occasions, I was walking in the woods, just walking along, and you know, it's not normal to see. It's normal to see sticks, right? They fall, right? But it's not normal to see sticks
Arranged.
arranged exactly. And on two different occasions, I came across, you know, arrangements of sticks, and the widths were different. So that if it was the wider road, the stick was wider. And then if it was a little trail, the trail stick was small. And if it was meeting a road, the road stick would. And when you looked at it, I took pictures of it, and it was there for a long time. They don't really disturb anything unless it gets disturbed, right? I think they lay it out. And it dawned on me, the first one, it was just off trail, that it was a mirror image looking down, almost like not a topo map, but you know, like looking at a trail map, that if you look down, you could see where, you know, the road was here. You could see there was an oncoming road here. The footpath went this way. And then, you know, and then there was a more elaborate one that I found the next year in a different area. And that one was big. You know, it was, you know, 7 or 8 different things going on. That was odd. And also I noticed that when you mentioned the hunting, I taught myself how to track. And when I say I taught myself, we're not talking Native American tracking. We're talking, I can follow an animal through the woods and I can recognize the print, right? And I think it's fun. It's like playing a mystery game. And for me, I just loved it. And if I'm going to be out in the woods, I might as well have some fun. So I'm out there, and I got so that I could track them. And there were several, they'd come through about every 6 or 7 weeks. All right. And when they did, they had several routes that they would take. And I identified a couple different routes, and it could take hours. I never did one all the way to the end, but it would take hours, and you'd see where they were foraging. There'd be a bent branch, and the branch would be leading down, and you'd follow that, and there'd be an X, and next to that X, you could see where it was, where a deer was going back. The male deers, what are they you know, where they rub they're rubbing the, you know, their horns to mark their territory, and there'd be a different size X. Like you know, and then you'd walk along, and there would be a different kind of a break or a lean, and you'd follow that, and there's a water source. And then you go on from that, and I would find, a lot of times they would find termite mounds. And when you would get to the termite mounds, there's sticks, just like the monkeys do. They're sticking the sticks in the termite mound, cleaning the sticks off, and then they leave them there like that's my stick. I'll just leave it here, you know. And I got so that I could follow those through for miles. I mean, it really went. And when I was doing that, when I would get to open fields, every now and then you'd see where there would have been a kerfuffle. So I would work it backwards. Here's the kill box. Okay. And if you really paid attention, a lot of times you could follow it. And if I couldn't find it, I'd try going back the other day till I found it. You know, I'd spend a week following it it was interesting. And what I was finding is, I think that they were leaving big branches in the direction of travel, laying down in the middle of the meadow, or laying down in the direction of travel. Like you'd see a big branch with one sticking off to the side. A dog didn't do that. A dog did not drive, you know, and the longer the branch, the longer the distance. That was just my interpretation. When there was a place that they didn't want to walk through, if it were muddy or super swampy, they would put arched sticks, and they're not sticks, like arched trees and stuff, you know, over it in either an X fashion, like an arched X, or sometimes in a crosshatch, like a laid down crosshatch, so that they didn't, if there was an obstacle on the ground, you would see that. Sometimes at an obstacle, I would find what looked like an F, 2 branches sticking up with, it looked like a capital F. I don't know what that meant, except that down at the base, it was kind of rocky. I mean, do they see that at night when they're walking and say, hey, here's the F? I should look out for whatever. I mean, it was really unusual. I would see A's, a lot of A's, or the sticks that are hung upside down. It looks like a Y. You snapped off a stick. It's like this. It's a Y, but it's hanging upside down on another stick like that. And these are up. These are not what, there are no humans there's nobody out there doing this. Another spring, I was out, and it's a swampy area, and they built this weird igloo shelter. It'd been a really hard winter. And I looked up, and in the trees, due east and northeast, there was a woven asterisk, right? A woven asterisk up in the trees. Like, is this where this is how we know that it's springtime? This is where the North Star rises. I mean, what are they doing? It was crazy. And then, oh my God, another time I found a rainbow. It wasn't a rainbow, picture of the shape of a rainbow. And they'd taken, willow branch, whatever it was, vines or willows, and they had woven it together to make this beautiful arch. And it's big. It's big. You would have to be on a ladder to make that. It's big. Who was doing that in the middle of the world? And so I don't know. Anyway, that was a total Shaggy Dog story. I'm sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. I can't remember who it was now, but they asked if, I know you said prior to the show that there are like 8 other people that you confer to or about these things when you were in Sweden. Am I correct in that one? Like, how do you just bring up a conversation in Sweden? Do people in Sweden believe in these things, or?
I don't. I mean, there's certain things you just don't want people to look at you and go, no more schnapps, honey. You're off the schnapps. It's one too many. Take a break. There are a couple people. My friends don't really know. I don't publicize it.
Okay.
I have some friends that have gone out that I've shown stuff to. The people that you are mentioning, though, live in different areas of Sweden. And we actually found each other not by chance, but by a woman by the name of Solveig. And I am missing her last name right now, but she was Swedish, and she knew Duke, of World Bigfoot Radio. This is 2012. And she was investigating and asking him things. And for whatever reason, I think all of us were looking for information. It was just when the Bigfoot stuff was starting to be available online more. And there are 2 guys in northern Sweden in Uppsala, north of Stockholm, and then another guy up near where my husband has his moose hunting, one of his moose hunting spots in northern Sweden, and he has them on his property. He has them right around. They're always around his property, and he has more. He's the one that's, I think, most in tune. He's always out. They're on his property. He sees them more like you guys, what you guys are experiencing on your land. And then there was me, and I'm the only American in the group. And then now there are a couple more. There's another lady in outside of Stockholm, not too far away from where I was, and another group of 2 other guys. So they're out there, and they're all doing their own thing. I'm not there anymore. Right. Every now and then we connect through Messenger and on Facebook. Hey, what's going on? They're still researching. Things changed after 2019 as far as there were so many people in the woods. You don't know what happened with the population of Bigfoot at that time. You don't know if they got sick. You don't know what happened. I think they were more like, what the hell is going on? Why are there hundreds of people in the woods now? It's the only place people can congregate. And having gone back since we left the last 3 years, I'm out of touch with the areas that they used to be in, and there's been some building encroachment in different areas. So while I still am pretty sure they're there, because I think I don't think they range that far from their home areas, right? I think they kind of stay within a couple miles of the general location all the time. But I'd have to be there for a while with boots on the ground to get a feel for, okay, now I know they're in this section more because this has gotten built up, or there's a road here that cuts through this now. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's that was another shaggy dog answer. I'm really sorry.
No, there's no shaggy dog answers. We love the experiences, and we love the wherever it takes us from there, story wise. It all leads together somehow, and that's not a bad thing. Jeff, you got anything else, my friend? You're
Sorry. The dog's been making so much noise tonight. I had to keep turning it off, and I've just really enjoyed listening to this. And
this is definitely
we don't normally get anything like Sweden or any places like that, so this isn't something we normally get to hear about, which I enjoy hearing about them from different areas.
Oh, absolutely.
Other than here.
Yeah, I love to hear about them. Like I said, with nothing, never seeing anything. I just love to listen to everybody's accounts, and it's refreshing to hear some from your account from Sweden, because it's so similar to the accounts here and what everybody talks about here. And it's just, I'll say it, if people don't believe in these things, that's their fault, because as a person, again, that has no experience, I totally believe this. How could we not? One of the things I talk about is the fact that we're finding new forms of life every single day. And we've also found forms of life that have never disappeared, but we thought they did.
And I've had these things 30 yards from me, and I couldn't see them.
Yeah. So there you go. Yeah.
No, they're definitely, they're there. They're there.
Yeah.
Marky, you got anything, my friend?
No, I really enjoyed listening to Miss Suzanne, and I have a lot of Swedish bloodlines in me, so that's good to really hear that, because that's where my mother's people originated from, way back yonder. But and I've always kind of read up a little bit on European folklore, and there's a lot there that points toward Bigfoot. I mean, it really does. I brought it up on one of my shows here a while back, the Gentai, they call it, which was more of Germany, Switzerland area, but which, and then some of these other names they have for them. So it's really interesting to, hear about that from that part of the world, because us as Americans, we don't hear that much. If you hear anything, it's usually, the Himalayas with the abominable snowman. You don't hear the other places.
Or Australia with the Yowie sometimes.
You think about through time, we were, all these nations were landlocked together. They were all one gigantic, landmass. And if these creatures have been around for who knows how long, we're finding now skeletons that we thought should have been over here, we're finding over there. So things move, things migrate. And I think that's the fact that everybody talks about the Yeti, the abominable snowman. And then we've got Bigfoot here and Yowie in Australia. These things, I think, were just like us. I mean, they were everywhere. And then when the land started to split, they went their separate ways and went to these other lands and lived on those parts of the land, whatever suited them best. They adapted to their environment, and they've lived in nature forever, and they know how to be quiet. They know how to be as big as they are, and yet you can't see them. And that's, to me, is amazing. But, look back, if you follow any of the American Indian lore, and how great hunters they were and how they could completely hide themselves from everything. And, maybe this is where they learned, maybe they learned from these creatures.
Yeah.
That's something interesting to think about. That's for sure.
It is.
That's for sure.
And they're faster than all get out. They move like nothing I've ever seen. I've never
Mm.
seen anything move that fast.
That's what I hear. That's
So-
Taking
that's
out
a lot
reindeer
of
deer.
Yep. That's a lot of the experiences that people have talked about. That's, obviously their size helps with that. As far as us taking 5, 6, 7 steps, they're taking 1 or whatever, in a stride, that helps. But the fact that they're probably strong as all get out. And I'm sure they range in size just like we do as humans. So it's just really neat to think about. Wow. And thank you so much. And do you have anything else you would like to talk about before we get out of here?
No, I think we covered everything. That's a lot.
Okay, good.
I
don't
just
want
can't believe
anybody
you
to
had
miss
them
anything.
that close. I
You've
mean,
had some
I've
great
heard of people
experience.
getting them close, but that's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it happened.
You might, if you hadn't looked that direction, you probably wouldn't have even seen him.
I would have seen it.
Exactly.
There was nothing on my right at all. It was just a
Yeah.
couple trees. No, I smelled it and I saw it. And that I still have, every now and then I still have nightmares about it. So yeah.
I was going to ask.
Or
do
you
have
could have
any
been one of those
PTSD?
people doing this with your phone and never even.
Hopefully, in nature, you're not doing that with your phone.
No, it made me, after I knew they were there, it actually made me nervous to not be aware of what was happening around me. Everybody said, "Oh, you should be casting prints." I'm like, hell no. I'm out there all alone and you want me to sit there and mix some stuff up and I'm in the dark woods and the thing is probably watching me and you want me to stand there and wait for that and then go back? No, they already know I know they're there. They're not happy about it. And
Well, it's just like when people talk about the pictures. Oh, you should have taken a picture. That's probably the last thing on your mind is to snap a picture.
I have 4 photos that I have that I think I sent to Jerry, and where I've caught a juvenile. That was from a video. That's actually a still from a video that I took, and it's a juvenile with a hand. He's looking through the trees, full on head and everything. And then 3, I got the Viking. I call him the Viking nose. I got that looking through some bushes, and then one that looks, the typical dark shadow with the heavy eyebrows. But one I did get when I had a group of deer run in front of me and I was taking a picture of the deer. And as they ran, I caught a day watcher sitting there. You can see him full on from the side. He's black. And you can't see the deer. That picture is really neat because you can see, you have to have a good eye. I mean, you've got to almost be a hunter to know what you're looking at to see. There's 4 deer in that picture. I caught them as they went over the fence and ran in, and then sitting right next to it. So it could have been a hunt or whatever. I don't know. There's the full on profile shoulder all the way down to the waist of a black one sitting in the trees. But those were all flukes. So like you said, you're not whipping out the camera, taking a picture.
Right.
No.
It honestly, it seems to be a lot of people, unless they've been lucky enough to snap a picture. I know Mark has taken some pictures of, cornfields and things. And you can see, what he saw in those, he just snaps a picture of an area where something looks like it might be there. And then you look back and you see it, it's.
Yeah. Or you catch the eyes. I have a couple where I can see, you can see the eyes, but you don't necessarily, like you said, you're taking, it might be there and I'll take it now, but I don't think, I actually think it pissed him off more than anything whenever I had my phone in. In fact, it wasn't the one day that I got that extra deep growl. There was this magnificent weaving. I've never seen anything like it I can't even describe it. And I, oh my God, I have to take a picture of this. And I reached in my pocket to pull the phone out. The dog happened to be, he was a rock hound. So he was on this big boulder. And then as I pulled the phone out, I looked, this big, like branch came winging at the dog. And I turned around just in time to see the thing go down. And it was my pulling out my phone that I think was the catalyst for that.
Could be.
So I think that they don't appreciate it. So I just tried to be respectful because I didn't want to get eaten.
Now the
Well,
one
exactly. I mean, they haven't stuck around this long for us to start snapping pictures all the time of them and
No,
posting
they can
everywhere.
The ones
know,
you've
I-
actually gotten to look at, do they all look similar?
They all look different from each. The ones
They
that
all
I've
look
seen look
different?
different from each other. I mean, other than so do all people look the same? I mean, we're the general shape, right?
Yeah,
But
general.
we have different coloring
Yeah.
and definitely different noses. And the young one looked, completely different from the older ones. Completely. It had a round head, and so everyone looked different colors, different hair. The one that had the Viking nose, he has the orangutan coloring, the red with mottled black,
Yeah.
that like almost like liver spots, and that really strong nose, but his hairline, he's got a receding hairline that starts here, and it looks like he's wearing a hoodie. I don't know, and I'm pretty sure that's a male, but like that. And I don't know. And then
That's
there's the gray
interesting
one. He was
because
all salt and pepper and gray. And the little one, the small one has the black hair, and he's got kind of orangish, orange, but I mean, orangier looking skin with kind of black and cinnamon color hair. And there's a cinnamon color one too.
that's interesting because over here you hear them about having different body types. Like in certain areas, you'll get what looks like the patty, and then other places they're like Neanderthal looking. And the color differences is about it. They don't really say, oh, well, this one had a different shaped head, or it's.
Well, I mean, just like people,
Yeah.
Asian, we don't look like Asians. That's for sure. We have the
Yeah.
same arms, legs, and head, but we don't look like Asian people. It works that way for everything. I think that these things have moved all across the world, and they've adapted to whatever environment they're in, and that's how they're built for those purposes.
Well, the ones that our summer house were black or dark brown, chocolate color. Whenever I saw them, shadowy sort of things. But that's it. So I don't know. I've never seen enough to tell you, well, that one was really lanky and that one was,
Yeah.
I can't speak intelligently to that. I don't know.
I know Coonbell, I've heard him say that a lot of the ones at his place are like all nice and shiny, look like they just came from the beauty shop.
I've heard him say that too. Yeah. Other than the one I saw sitting there, all I know is his hair was light enough to blow in the breeze. And he didn't look dirty. But he wasn't shiny. Just kind of dull elephant skin sort of a thing going on. He didn't.
I've heard a lot of people talk about him looking real shiny.
I believe it. They like to swim. I mean, they swim, and they must groom each other, and what aren't there reports of?
So.
Yeah, and there are reports in the United States, aren't there, of females some of them having kind of decorated their hair in some way or possibly braided it a little bit?
Yeah, I've heard that.
Or like wearing like a little tiara looking
things.
thing made out of
vines I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know. They must look at it and say, well, do you think all those people look the same? And they'll be like, yeah.
They're all wearing. Starts wearing headdresses. I'm gonna be like, I don't.
Yeah, somebody in chat asked if any of you've seen any that look like Jeff.
I don't know if they make them that short unless it's an infant.
You don't hear people talk about those are usually the children they're talking about, not the actual.
That's a pygmy.
Yeah.
Oh my.
The Hillary asked, do they have human-looking faces or more primate? Obviously, you said one looked like an orangutan type.
The shape, the ovalness of the shape, and the way the forehead sloped back, with the coloring was orangutan, but the nose was a little bit flat, but definitely that Viking, that real strong nose ridge.
Yep.
And real, like, not a hook nose, but real defined nose. And then the other one that I have a picture of, which I actually think is the one, the male, the gray one that I walked by. I actually think that might have been the male. He has the Neanderthal looking heavy brow ridge and the wider, flatter nose, more like an Aboriginal style nose. I can't really tell the mouth. The black one that I can see just by profile, honestly, it looks like a black man sitting there with a very small ear. The ear is kind of smaller and to the, like maybe half, it looks like it would be half the size of ours and kind of to the back of the head a little bit. Does that make sense? And
Yes.
Yeah.
but it looks like just a normal, the lips were slightly protruding. They didn't, because it's in profile. So it just looks like a black man sitting sideways. You'd have the same kind of a profile. And that, I don't want to group all black people into that, but you know what I mean?
Yes.
Doesn't sound right. But and then the smaller one, it looks odd. It looks odd. It's just got this round kind of bowling ball shaped head, and the hair kind of starts backwards, and it looks like a little kid. It has really fat fingers. The fingers are, you can see 3 fingers. It's pulling a branch away, and they look kind of like they're swollen, and you can just see a little bit of a black fingernail, but the skin is kind of orangier, and the hair is black. You'd have to see it. Jeff has the pictures. I sent him the pictures. You can ask him.
I'll have to. I don't think I saw them.
I
Jerry
sent him.
probably has.
Jerry, sorry, somebody has them.
Okay,
I sent him.
Jerry has them.
Anyway,
Okay.
they're different. But
Gentlemen,
thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Susie, we can't thank you enough. Thank you for sharing your experiences. Hopefully you don't have any more. I mean, we all kind of want them, but as long as
From a
they're nice
distance.
ones.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to have you back on and talk about the photos sometime.
Yeah,
Sure.
might have to. Jerry didn't give me those, or I would have definitely shared those, but might have to have you back on here in a while and see your pictures, or we'll just have Jerry share them with us and we can take a look at them. You're not on your Facebook. That's where I checked out your little profile was on your Facebook. So if I might friend you on there. If you
Sure.
still pay attention, I will friend you. And, I'd love to learn more about that stuff. And I'm always interested in learning things and Swedish heritage too. So
Now, I don't necessarily post the Bigfoot stuff there. I have just my little YouTube pictures, but I'm happy to send pictures. I got a lot of photos,
okay.
but I do have some good footprint ones that I think are pretty good. And I have those and a lot of structures. So, but I'm happy to share those with you because it's interesting to see from a different country what you recognize. And like we were talking about the hunting patterns, that's interesting. It's interesting. What shapes are you besides the X's, right? What else are you guys seeing? There has to be some, like the Sami people who live in northern Sweden and Finland are related to the Inuits of Alaska, right? And they have a common language, and they have common traditional songs. And so is that, like you said, they're ancient. Did they all come from the same land bridge like humans? Do they, are they writing in runes? Is that F that I see? Is that a rune?
Good thinking. That's a good point. Yep.
You don't know what it is. What are the hash marks you see? What are these asterisks that I see? Is anybody else out there finding maps on the ground, or the trees? It seems like every season they walk by when they're back in the town, like, hey, I'm here this year. Boom goes a stick, and you end up with these bushes that have sticks constantly being pushed in them, or big boulders with a series of small logs. First year, second year,
Right.
third year. Every spring. And we're here again. The Johnsons are back in town. I mean, are they doing that? Is anybody else? Granted, I'm lucky because I was in a smaller area, so I probably saw more. United States is so spread out, but there are people here that have found these areas and they're researching them. And are they seeing the same things?
That's just it. And that's the great thing about these communities, that we can all get together, because there are so many shows like ours that, and we have so many guests, and these shows have, and you can compare and you learn all these new things. And I love that. And so you being the first person, obviously we've had with, living in Sweden, and we get to hear something about what happens in Sweden. That's a good thing. I like that. And we thank you very much for that.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for having
Do
me.
you have a channel? You have a channel, don't you? Or do you?
Do you have a YouTube channel?
It's on you. Yes, I haven't posted in a while. And you can tell the early stuff from the more recent stuff. But it's Sasquatch Sweden.
Yeah, I think
Sweden.
Or Sweden Sasquatch Sweden. Sasquatch Sweden, I think. I'll send you in the link and you guys can look. But like I said, I'm happy to share my stuff. It would be nice to get some feedback, and you could say that is a bunch of baloney, or you could say, okay, that's something we haven't seen, or that's different, or I think it's
Sounds
interesting.
good to me.
Thank you.
Sounds good to me. And I'm sure you will get a lot of feedback. So
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay.
Well, we again, thank you for being here. Again, everybody should check out Sasquatch Sweden or Sweden Sasquatch on YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can find it if you look for it.
I think I just found it.
Your Facebook page is under your name, or is it under?
I have a private Facebook page. But it's under my name.
You don't have to share that if you don't want to.
No, it's okay. I keep that separate.
Okay.
Because it also has my husband's information, and because of who he is, he doesn't want to have that.
Gotcha.
Which is ridiculous to me, but
yeah, Okay.
But I am happy to share information. I'm happy to compare and send pictures, and so you can send me messages on Sasquatch Sweden on the YouTube page, and I'm happy to respond. It goes to my email, and I get it. So
okay, awesome. Well, thank you again. We appreciate you being here, and maybe we'll have you back again sometime and talk about your pictures, and when Jerry's feeling a bit better, and that'd be great.
It would be fun. I'd appreciate that. It would be fun. I've enjoyed talking with you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm not over here trying to hack up my lung next time, hopefully. Yeah.
Well, I hope you feel better. Stay warm. That's all.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday. Jeff, who's our guest next Tuesday?
I think we're going to have Danny Buckner on.
Oh, okay. He's been in chat tonight.
Yeah, I think Jerry had asked him about coming on next week. So I think that's who we'll be having, unless something happens, and then I'll find somebody else.
Mark, would you like to share your show and when it's going to be on this week?
Well, it's Cedar Creek Bottoms Farmstead Live, and me and Rebecca have our regular Friday Night Live at 7. We'll be back at our regular time. So this new work schedule is really thrown us a kink here lately, but and I hope to start getting some videos back out. A lot of stuff going on Creepy Mountain. I got to get up there and really start filming. So and I've got a guest coming on, hopefully maybe next week, to give his experience from North Georgia. So
awesome. Okay. Great. I will definitely check that out, as I do every week for your show. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for being here. The comments were flying through. We love it. And we hope to see you all Sunday on the Oddcast podcast, Off the Record. Thank you. I'll plug our show. And then next Tuesday, of course, on Old Line Cryptids and with Jerry and Jeffrey. Thank you very much, everybody. We will see you next time. And everybody have a good night and stay safe, stay frosty, and keep your head on a swivel.
Thank you.